Let's go to a moment when you became a dad.
Never ever did I think that things would turn out the way they did. Tanvi took such great care of everything. Pregnancy was great. She was fine. She delivered. Zaya had to go to the NICU because she wasn't breathing, so she was bleeding, and then I asked the nurse, what's happening, and then they were like, yeah, it's.
Did you talk to her after?
No, because she was in and out of it.
I see.
So I trusted, the sort of professionals, the system, yeah.
Yeah.
And then within 3 hours there was a code blue. 20 minutes later they came and said, yeah, we couldn't revive her and she's gone.
I'm so sorry.
And that was it. And so so she passed on a Friday, and on a Sunday I brought Zaya home.
How's Zaya doing?
She is 3.5 now. She knows that that's mom, but I don't think she really
She's
grasps.
connecting. Yeah.
Everything. And it's funny that she'll see her friends' moms and she'll go and hug them.
Oh.
So I think that's
So hard, man.
that's when slowly it started hitting me that now I
There's
got
a long road ahead.
yeah I got to think of that this is it. There's no there's no other choice, there's no other options, and she has me.
Kaizad, welcome to Dadsense.
Thank you so much for having me, Subhasis.
It's so good to see you. I know we haven't met in a long time.
Long time, I know.
You just flew to India, and so good to see you.
Yeah, you too. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to our conversation. I know we try to do this virtually between Bangalore and Southern California.
I know.
But I'm glad that we couldn't do it, and then we're able to do this. Yeah, absolutely. So how's Zaya doing?
Oh, she's doing great. Yeah, I think she's surprisingly settled.
And how old is she now?
She is 3.5 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. October 21. So yeah.
And you flew into India a week back? Less than a week.
Less than a week. Yeah. About 5 days.
And she's doing well with jet lag.
She's doing well with jet lag. Yeah, surprisingly better than me. Yeah. So
I tell you, the kids are more resilient.
We don't give them credit for that. I mean,
know.
I've noticed.
I know.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So you're up in the night and she's sleeping.
She's sleeping. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, wow. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around, but no, that's
that's good. Well, enjoy your time in India with your parents. I've been doing this podcast for the last couple of years, and we were chatting about it. And it's been a great journey in talking to other dads, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And I will, of course, you and I used to hang out back in the day.
I know.
We had a lot of great time.
Yeah.
Before you became a dad.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go to the moment when you became a dad. I know it was a very, very tragic story and tragic moment. The unthinkable happened. I would love for you to share, to the extent that you can, the day. Take me back to the day when you became a dad.
Yeah. So it was, and of course, never ever did I think that things would turn out the way they did. So everything was fine. And just take you a little further back, that because Tanvi took such great care of everything. Pregnancy was great. She was fine. And then the day of the delivery, and it was like I said, never thought that things would turn out the way they did. She delivered. Zaya had to go to the NICU because she wasn't breathing, so I went with her to the NICU, and then when I came back, Tanvi, she wasn't very conscious. She was, sort of in and out of it, and she was bleeding, and then I asked the nurse, what's happening, and then they were like, yeah, it's not abnormal that things like that happen, but
Did you talk to her after?
No, because she was in and out of it.
I see.
So the last time that she was actually conscious was before I left for. So when I came in, it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And she came in ahead of me.
I see.
And I couldn't come with her, so I got all the bags
She
and all
came
that.
to the hospital before you?
Yes, before me. And then, so I went up. I came about maybe a half hour, 45 minutes after. And when I went up to the delivery room, I asked like, oh, so, what's happening? How long? And she's like, well, we already delivered. And I was quite surprised that, being the first pregnancy, she was, she delivered so quick. And then, the corner of the room, because Zaya was, wasn't breathing when she was delivered, they had to take her to the NICU. And so that was the last time that I actually spoke with Tanvi. And then when I came back, like I said, she wasn't, totally conscious. And then it just, things sort of were okay. They seemed normal, like, right. The nurse. I'm not a medical professional, sure. first kid, so I trusted, the sort of professionals, the system, yeah. And then within 3 hours there was a code blue, and like 20 minutes.
What?
Code blue. So basically that they had to bring in like the emergency whatever doctors and all, because she wasn't. Was flatlining. She wasn't,
And is that where it struck you that something was wrong?
Something was wrong, because till then, like I said, the doctors, the doctor came in for like 5 or 7 minutes. They said administer some injection, some, medication. But I didn't see any, need for concern. No one seemed like they were...
No one sort of blew the red flag?
Exactly, nothing, Of course... now after the fact, I learned that there were so many red flags, but at that time,
I would be the same.
I wouldn't know any different till they called that code blue, and there was like all sorts of commotion. I was sent out of the room, and 20 minutes later they came and said, we couldn't revive her and she's gone. So that was and at that time it was. You think that I was so shocked. Till today, I don't know what I was thinking then, because it was out of the blue and such a shock that I don't think I even, registered what had just happened. And that was, and Zaya was in NICU, and, I had to, then that's it. I had to leave.
I'm so sorry. I know we've talked about it so many times, but every time, and I know we are talking about this in this podcast now, but I'm really sorry to even imagine all of that.
Thanks.
So, and then you went back to Zaya and just held it like...
Oh, well, so I wasn't allowed to go back because they have certain, rules for the NICU. So then, and again, it was, COVID. So there was, we thought of getting family over, but we didn't think, what would they do there? We can't get it. No one can be with her. No one can be with us. So we're like, once we come home, then we'll have someone over. So then I had to call, Anshul, who's Tanvi's brother.
Yeah.
And of course, break the news to them, and
you
everyone
were alone
else.
In the hospital?
I was alone. No one there. So there was then a friend of mine who was in LA. Then he came over. I had called some other friends, and then they said, just don't drive. Just So then I, thinking back, that was a good decision. And so Baljit came over, he took me home, and then Tanvi's family came over. Then went to the hospital that morning, or maybe afternoon. That's the first time I actually, held Zaya, saw her. So that was very surreal because, it was supposed to be a very happy, joyous moment, and at that time I was actually terrified because I was like, I had not prepared. Like, any. I guess Tanvi was so meticulous about everything that I had sort of like, you know what, she'll handle it. I don't need to do,
You just didn't know what was going to happen after the baby
So
came.
yeah.
And now she's gone.
Now she's gone. And I'm like, I had no idea, I didn't prepare. I'm just like, the only thing I knew is like, okay, she'll tell me something, I'll do it. And that's it, So that was the, that was the situation then.
Of your parenting journey.
Yeah. And, fortunately, they kept her in the NICU for 2 or 3 days, and then they sort of, prepped me real quick on, how to do certain things, feeding and, cleaning or whatever. And that was it. And so that, so she passed on a Friday, and on a Sunday I brought Zia home. So,
Wow.
It was,
and thank you for sharing that, Kaizad. And when did you? I know it must have been a complete blur, right?
Still is, yeah.
Still is,
no, yeah.
That chapter of your
true, especially the first, few weeks or months it's totally, yeah.
Do you remember when, in some shape, when it was the first time you even thought about you being a dad? In some, crazy, weird way that occurred to you in the middle of this sort of dark.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It occurred to me in the sense of, like I said, not as feeling great that I'm a dad, feeling like feeling scared that like, you know what? Now I'm like, I have to care for someone who can't do anything on her own, and that was scary. So that's the time I actually, it hit me that. Yeah, it's I'm the whole and soul, and she's totally my responsibility. Now I granted, fortunately, Tanvi's family was there, and Sheetal, who's Anshul's wife, she was and still is, she's like the female figure in Zia's life. Yeah. So she stayed along with Tanvi's mom, but she stayed for a couple of weeks. She sort of gave me the rundown. She helped me through the night with the the night feedings, and we sort of alternated. So
you sort of partnered,
I slept a little, and she did it, and went back and forth. And she's had 2 kids, so she did. She was a little more seasoned than I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it was not for her, I mean,
you don't.
I wouldn't
have made
know what
it.
to do. Yeah. And because my parents, at that time too was that the travel ban thing. So my parents couldn't even fly from India. So that was it, So after a couple of weeks, Anshul and Sheeta said, just come over with us. And so then I went and stayed with them for almost, I think, 6 to 8 weeks in Northern California.
Yep.
And just taking care of Zia, everyone, pitching in. And when they say it takes a village, I mean...
to raise a baby, yeah.
I saw that there, yeah. So definitely,
what was the thought process like, after the first maybe month or 2 months? What was, how did you reframe this entire future? Like, I know you must have been just flying on a day-to-day, hour-on-hour basis, but what was going on in the back of your head in terms of reframing this?
I was so tired. Honestly, I was just going.
You just
day by day, like you said, hour by hour, just to get stuff done, and there was a lot. So I think I would, like you mentioned, the reframing would have been more after I got back to LA. So my parents came maybe a couple of months after Zia was born. Then I went back to LA. That's when slowly it started hitting me that now
There's a long road ahead.
Yeah, I got to think of that this is it. There's no there's no other choice. There's no other options, and she has me, and that's
It's almost like the storm is over, like you're sort of picking up your pieces.
Yes. Still a lot of pieces to pick up, but it sort of started to, I wouldn't say like a smooth, but in the sense it was, sort of routine. I think that was the main thing. There was a routine building. I had a little bit of time. My parents, honestly, they were awesome.
Yeah,
so,
they were godsend,
So with that, I had a little more time to think. I could take a nap sometimes,
Because you were grieving, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just lost your wife and you're grieving and you're looking at your baby.
Correct.
Was there, I'm sorry, I know
go ahead.
It's very hard to look back at the time, but I'm just trying to understand, how did you take care of yourself while processing this devastating loss and looking at your daughter?
Yeah. So, in terms of taking care of myself, initially I tried the thing that all men, I guess, that I've heard would do is like, just try and, power through.
Just
and
jam everything through,
right?
right?
Just not think about it, shove everything under the carpet and go with it. And I realized it didn't work for me, as time went on. I realized I wasn't, I didn't feel like doing stuff, and
like it was just being held back?
I was just because it was such a heavy thing, it's like losing her, and that was affecting how I was taking care of Zaya. So it wasn't for a long time,
sure,
but I know that that sort of shook me out of this.
So you couldn't do stuff, like something will hold you back, and
so in the sense of do stuff, it was sort of like I was like, what, I'll take care of it, let mom do it, or let dad do it or something. But it wasn't long time, because as I thought about it, I'm like, this can't go on
forever.
And they're here to help, and it's not their responsibility. They're they should be grandparents who enjoy their kids and not take care of of my daughter. So that's when I think the switch flipped, and it was, I guess, more so Zaya who sort of forced me to get out of that get stupor, and sort of start doing the stuff that I needed to. I did speak with a friend of ours who is a therapist.
Okay.
And she suggested, why don't you talk to someone? Again, being a guy, you're like, therapy. I mean, that's not for me.
Exactly.
So you always think about, or you always hear for someone else, or someone who's in a really bad shape, or you never think that be you.
Yeah.
But then I started down that path, and it
was that?
Very helpful. Very, very helpful.
How did that help? You were able to just express
I was able to see, just when you talk, because you're talking to yourself, a lot of times you don't say things out loud. You never realize, and as you start talking about things, questions come up, and then you start things start bubbling out, and there's a release. That was a big thing. And then you realize, well, as you talk to someone, that it's not all darkness. There's silver linings, and that's what I realized too. And I found a great therapist. That was good too. And just like you said, just chatting. Initially, it was a lot of sessions, and then over time that started reducing the number. But that was a big.
That was a kind of a turning point.
That was a turning
in this
point.
journey.
Yeah, definitely was. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
That did help. So.
And what was? Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I believe in that. I've gone through my own share of, not obviously anywhere near the extent of grief that you are dealing with, but even when I've had my own losses, that's when I've experienced the power of therapy and be able to process your grief with someone else. And there's something happens, there's something magical about sharing and coming to terms with your loss.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not able to do this. It just becomes an infinite loop inside your head.
That's exactly
And-
what
and
I was
you-
saying. Yeah,
yeah.
you just talk
Yeah.
to yourself, and
Yeah,
there's
you're
nothing.
going in circles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
true.
And how did you? What was your routine like? Did you like have routines like I'll take her for a walk in the morning, and then you had your moments
Yeah,
of
so
connection?
it's so when she was a kid, as soon as I took her out in a stroller, she was out.
Right.
So my dad and I used to walk to the coffee shop
Yeah.
around, and luckily, where we stayed, you just come around, and it was a bustling street.
Yep.
So we had a coffee shop there. So that was very. It was a set routine. Sort of gave some direction in that
Yeah.
sense that okay, now you know what, now we got to do this.
Right.
Go,
Yeah.
go there.
So you kind of look forward to that.
That
ritual.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
We used to go. Then Dad and I used to sit. Grab a cup of coffee, chat. And sometimes if she woke up, just
Yep.
just play around with her a little bit or whatever. Then we came home. She napped or whatever, and then again in the evening we went for another walk.
Yep.
Just so that she could get out, we could get out, and I think it's so important. Movement.
Absolutely.
It was very. I don't know what it was. It just helped.
No, I hear you. I think there is something about moving physically and metaphorically, sort of moving forward. Right. There's a strong connection between these two, and I didn't realize that until I shared with you. Right, when my mom passed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, different kind of grief. Every grief is unique. I sat just without doing anything for like 3 weeks. I would just sit.
Wow.
And I just couldn't move my body.
Mm-hmm.
One day I dragged myself and just took a small walk in my community. And then that felt like something was clicking,
Mm-hmm.
that I had some hope,
Mm-hmm.
something to hold on to move forward. And then sort of one step ahead of the other, right?
Right.
So I can relate to that.
Yeah. No. Definitely.
Yeah.
That was very helpful too.
Yeah. And how I'm still struggling with, obviously I can never ever feel what you felt. This whole dichotomy of, missing Tanvi and holding Zaya,
Mm-hmm.
the bundle of joy in front of you and the memory of Tanvi. How do you reconcile with this? I know it's very hard to describe, but I'm just
It
curious.
is hard to describe, and initially it was, the grief was, it sort of overshadowed the joy.
Right.
So, it wasn't, the happiness that I should have felt was totally missing. I was just going through the motions of taking care of
Yeah.
Zaya. This went on for quite a while, and
For how long? Like months?
months. Yeah, it was.
So you'd feel guilty?
Not guilty. I wouldn't feel. I would feel grief. I wouldn't feel happiness. I wouldn't
Anything, yeah.
feel like, I'm
I'm a dad.
a dad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel that for a long time.
What would you like? You just feel very sad and just
sad.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was, like I said, it was just going through the motions. This is what I have to do, so I got to do it. It's it was a responsibility, but not one that I was glad to have in that sense.
Wow.
Because of the loss,
Yeah.
and the fact that we had talked, Tanvi and I talked about a lot of stuff that we would be doing together with her, and so now all that came back, but negatively is like, oh, we can't do this or we can't do that, or this will never.
What had you talked about?
When should we take her on our first
Travel.
road trip? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you guys love traveling.
Yeah, exactly. We take her for her first brunch when
Yeah, knowing Tanvi, like she would have definitely planned all of
right
this
away.
stuff.
Yeah. So when do we take her to the store to get her stuff? Very, I guess, momentous sort of things. It was like big things, but
all those will haunt you, right? All those thoughts.
Yeah. So, like I said, it wasn't till for a few months, and then I noticed slowly it started subtly, changing. I used to smile at Zaya, and that's when I was like, yeah, it just came naturally, and I didn't have to to think about
Right.
it. Just started happening, and that's when it slowly started changing. That grief initially was, like I said, it was pain and
Yeah.
anger and sadness and all. Slowly gave way to a little more like, what,
Hope and
yeah, exactly. That now I have someone. It may not be Tanvi, but it's as close.
It's a part of her.
As close as I can get. So that sort of slowly started changing then, and then over time, again, there'll always be grief. I mean, you can't. Of
course, it never goes away.
Yeah,
it's there forever.
It sort of started getting with therapy. Started giving space to more positive memories of her.
Yes.
Till then, it was all just negative what had happened and things like that. For almost a year, I wouldn't look at pictures because I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I slowly started doing that. Then I started showing Zaya a few pictures, Tanvi's picture on the mantle. She started, I was like, "Who's that?" And then I said, "That's Mama." Slowly. So I started, talking to her about. She didn't understand, who or who she was, but then she knew, okay, that's Mama, and that's it. So it just, over time, I can't pinpoint, okay, this, it happened.
Sure. Yeah, I know.
There, just as time went, it sort of changed. Yeah.
When does Zaya know about like the idea of a mom?
Yes, so she does, because she sees a lot of
other
her
kids,
friends, kids who have moms.
When was the first time you had an actual
Conversation with her was just about a few months ago. She asked me, "Oh, so where's Mama?"
Where's Mama? Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had been sort of, of course, she doesn't know the concept of, death and things like that. So I was like, oh yeah, she's far away, but she's watching over you. You'll always, always have her. And so that's, and she was, surprisingly, she never, sort of probed further. Then recently we had like a Mother's Day thing at her daycare. And then, so she's like, "So why is Mama not here?" So then again, I had to tell her, she's, far away, and, looking over you and things like that. So she knows that, that's Mom, but I don't think she really grasps everything. And it's funny that she will, I was telling Sheetal this the other, that she will see Sheetal, or she'll see her friends' moms, and she'll go and hug them.
Oh.
So I think that's...
It's hard, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how she connects, I think, that's it's Mom. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, take a break. Sorry, man. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You want some water? Or are you
I'm
good?
good. I'm good. Thanks.
We'll roll again. Okay. Is my face okay? Okay. Okay. Got it. It does these. I'm just curious to know, like, these conversations, I'm sure, like, they're painful, and you're trying to make sense for your 3-year-old daughter. Do they reopen some of the trauma?
The first few times it did.
Yeah.
And I try not to, be very down around her, because she doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want that, me being sad associated with Mom. So,
Yeah.
I try not to. And
Yeah.
initially, I had to cut short a little bit because
You
I
couldn't
was,
really.
welling up and
Yeah.
tears. So, but the last couple of times, maybe it's sort of been, how do I get her to understand a little more?
Yeah.
I don't think I've succeeded, but I think that's now
Sure.
the plan is try and slowly break it to her as
Yeah. Are you still doing therapy?
I do, but now it's once every few weeks.
Yeah.
It does.
Who's been there with you along this whole journey? Like, how have you? I know it's very hard to do this alone.
Yeah. So
Who do you bounce stuff off? Like,
Oh yeah.
who's
so
been guiding you, helping you
basically,
along the way?
in terms of, so I fortunately, unfortunately, so I'll be 50 in October. So all my friends have had kids who are
much older.
much older.
Yeah, tell me about it. Same here.
So what happens is, a lot of my friends there ask question, and there's a lot of input, great input, because they've experienced it. I mean, so same with like Sheetal or my sister, and everyone, each kid, each parent, each relationship is unique.
Yep.
So everyone has a lot of inputs. It's good for me, because then I can sort of see, okay,
Yeah.
this is more
What do I take?
Yeah,
How
this
do
is
I?
more what will work with her, or
Yeah.
this may or may not work. So that's how I do it.
Got it.
And it's been great. I think just having all these moms and dads around, so that
Yeah. And do you feel that in a deeply ironic ways, like the bond that you've had with Zaya is incredibly, it's probably the strongest. The best. You would have never thought that you'll
I
be
would
this.
never in a million years
Right.
thought that it would be the way it is, because, like I said, just conventional wisdom says, yeah, the mom and the baby are like
Yeah, just one
and then-
unit, and
yeah,
you're
and
there
then
to
you
just
are
kind of
just
support and
support,
Yeah. yeah,
But now it's like, and I see it in her too. Not that I want that, but if I'm in the room, she is, she's always, looking at me or with me, or, so I realize that she fully trusts me, and that's what it is, She doesn't know any different in terms of, there's no one else but
Yeah.
me. So that has been, I think, would have never been possible, having two parents around. So not that I would have wanted it this way,
Sure.
but now that it is,
yeah,
at least I'm happy that that's the bond
Yeah.
that it has created. And so she's 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 daddy's girl.
yeah, absolutely. Have you seen parts of you like sort of blossom in this journey that you never thought that, wow, like
Yeah.
this is who I am.
Yeah. One big thing is, when I've always been one who's, very sort of laid back.
Yeah.
I don't care about, what people say, what people think, very neutral about most stuff.
Yeah.
But I've realized when it comes to her,
Yeah.
it's just like I'm very, to the point of being an ass. I'm like, if someone
Yeah.
says or does something
Yeah.
that I don't agree with, I can be really rude, and
Really?
I know that's not good, but that's.
Yeah.
I realized that
You can't control that.
It just came
Yeah,
out.
it's very visceral.
And I was exactly.
Yeah.
And I want things done a certain way with her, because a lot of it is what Tanvi and I talked about, and we were on pretty much the same
On the
page.
same page, yeah. I
So
definitely
it's not
remember
like
that.
I'm doing anything different, and so I realized this is how it's going to be. I'm going to make mistakes.
course.
There's no ways that's not going to happen, but it's my responsibility, and so I don't want tomorrow where I'm like, oh yeah, because someone said that's why this happened. No, it's like I did it, and so I would take I would take
Yeah,
responsibility for
responsibility.
whatever whatever it is. And so so far it's it's turned out pretty good.
It's great. What's the routine like now?
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I do have some help in terms of
Sure.
someone who comes over in the morning, helps with, getting her ready, and then I drop her
She
off.
goes to
Daycare.
Daycare,
Yeah,
yep.
she goes to daycare.
Not to kindergarten yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be in about a year, I
Yep.
think, a little over a year. And it's great, because in daycare I see that she's really, she learns, and she's, got her BFF, and she's got, a few
That's
people.
cute.
Yeah, it's so funny. And she'll
She's
come
got a
home
little
and,
best friend.
yeah, she does. I ask her, who's your best friend? Oh, yeah, Eleanor, she's my best friend. And
Aw.
that's so, you'd never think a
I know.
3-year-old.
Your little
but
baby has a
yeah,
friend now, best friend. Yeah.
And yeah, she's like, oh, I play with them and I play with her, and I like, no, I don't play with them. And I'm like, wow, they got their cliques, and yeah,
They got their groups
so
going here.
interesting. Yeah. So she's at daycare and she's really happy. Since day one, she's never, I heard stories of where kids would just bawl their eyes out when
Yeah.
they're. Since the first day, she's been great.
That's
daycare,
incredible.
Drop her off, and she's
What I think it goes to say how you're raising her. I think she feels very safe and sort of confident in her
Well, I hope that's
their
the
own
case.
self.
But yeah,
That's-
I mean,
that's-
she's
I mean, that's my hypothesis, having done a little bit of research,
okay.
because the amount of how they are out, right?
Mm-hmm.
How they act and behave when they're not with you is a lot about how they feel
Interesting.
in terms of how they're being nurtured.
Got it.
They're
Okay.
feeling very safe and anchored.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're confident and they go about their day. Whereas
Right.
if there's some gap there, she wouldn't
Makes
be doing
sense.
this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what else? So she goes to daycare.
She goes to daycare the full day, so I let her stay there because I think even if she was home, I couldn't do what
course. Yeah.
happens at daycare. And then she comes back in the evening. The nanny goes out with her, takes her to the park or whatever. Just get that energy
Yeah.
out. And then dinner, shower. Then I read to her. Sometimes she'll talk to Granny and Grandpa.
Right.
They love it. I think that's great. And then she doesn't sleep on her own. So she used to, and then
She
one
wants
day
daddy.
she's just like, yeah, dad. And I'm just,
You need to sort of pretend sleep.
yeah, I do. And then sometimes, you know what? It's pretend, but most of the times
You
I
fall
fall asleep
asleep.
before
Yeah,
her. So, and that's helped me because the next day I feel great.
Right.
That's
Feeling fresh.
fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I,
That's cool.
yeah, she's sleeping. Initially it was tough because she was all over the place, and, even till today she's like kicking and so but she's she doesn't wake up much
Right.
at night. She's awesome that way.
That's great. Have you guys taken a road trip?
We took one to we had taken one to San Francisco from
Yeah.
from LA. Then we did flights. Actually, we did one to New York last year. We did one to Vegas around New Year's this year. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, that's
Just two of you?
yeah, just the two of us. Yeah. Oh, and then there, of course. So when
Yeah, of
we went
course.
to New York, we stayed with
Met some friends,
and then Vegas, Anshu and Sheetal met us there.
Yeah.
So with the family, so we were there. So
And just going back, it's probably hard to not think about Tanvi, right? During these travels.
yeah, during these travels, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Do you share any of this with Zaya, or you just sort of try to keep it?
I have not, because again, I don't think she
She'll connect.
connect. Yeah.
Right.
I think maybe if she's a little older, then
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
start talking to her about the trips and the travels
Yeah.
that we took. Yeah. Not yet. Yeah.
Yep. Got it. What is, if you were to describe fatherhood, Kaizad, albeit in these extraordinary circumstances, how do you describe fatherhood as, like, if you were to characterize to someone?
It is challenging, but thoroughly fulfilling, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I'll be. There's, every day is something, something new.
Yeah.
So that's, but, maybe it was just a few days ago, actually, when we got here. She just woke up in the morning and I was just lying next to her.
In India?
In India, yeah.
Right.
And then, she opened her eyes and she was just facing me, and then she smiled. And
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's cool. And so that it was, it just moves you, It's like,
Yeah.
and then you realize that all this time,
Yeah.
all that you've done is so worth
It's
it.
also worth
so
it.
worth it,
Yeah. There's
And
that one moment.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just one. It's like fleeting, like few seconds.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. Yeah, it's hard to describe.
oh yeah. The way she looked at me,
Yeah, and just smile at you.
smile. Yeah. Just straight.
It's just complete silence, but there's so much
Exactly.
in that
In
moment.
that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but yeah.
It is beautiful, yeah. Particularly, I'll tell you, like, obviously, we have Neve and Nila.
Mm-hmm.
Something magical about daughters and dads. It's incredible. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm thinking about. I'm pretty sure you take her to the daycare. You meet a lot of, couple parents, right?
Correct,
Two
correct.
parents, and what goes on in your mind about, like, do you feel sense of gratitude? How do you feel about when you see other, like, two parents?
Actually, it's great for them,
Yeah.
that there are two parents, but I never think about. Of course, there's some place, deep down there's like, yeah, it should have been two.
Yeah.
But it's never, after all this time, it's like, what, this is
Yeah.
what life's
Never
given
comes
us.
from a sense of, like, gap or lack, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's your journey now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's, I never think too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. I was coming from, the point as a thought for other dads and moms,
Got it. Okay.
where, it's hard to sort of, do this equivalence, right? Like your situation versus somebody else's situation. But I tend to, like, sometimes when you get cynical, right? Like even if you have everything that you have, like you have a wife, you have a dad and mom, children, and sometimes you just get cynical about things, right? And you just like, it's crazy. It's, why do I have to deal with this, this parenting stuff? And then, like, then I think of you're raising your daughter alone, and that's when your cynicism goes away. Not in a condescending way, but sometimes, even when you have everything, you don't really appreciate all that you have, right? I was sort of trying to.
Yeah, no, that is so true. I was mentioning this to one of Zaya's, friends' parents.
Yeah.
That exactly the same thing, that a lot of people are, they complain and
Yeah.
think about, but I'm like, you know what? Be glad that
Yeah,
there's
the two of you are together.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
true that things might seem in your bubble, it might
Relatively,
seem, seem like oh, it's crazy
It's
and
all
things like
breaking
that.
apart or whatever.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you just go zoom out,
Yeah.
it's there's things that you should be grateful for.
Yeah.
And me too. It could have
Yeah,
been much
totally.
worse for me.
100%.
So I'm, I didn't feel that initially.
Of course.
Now I'm like, you know what? This had to happen. I'm actually glad I'm in a position now where I can take care of Zia. I don't have to worry
Yeah.
too much about
Sure.
other stuff. I think about single parents with multiple kids who have a hard time financially or things like that,
Sure.
and I'm like, man, I'm so much better off
In a better place, yeah.
than that. So again, it's perspective of how
Right.
how you are as a parent or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think about future? I know it's sort of you're a here and now kind of a person. At least that's how I know you. I'm pretty sure fatherhood has changed you in many ways.
It has, yeah.
Do you think about like a few years down the line or some distant future where this is how Zia would be and this is how you would be?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of thinking of the end point in line where I want her to be like I don't want to be a dad who's overprotective or
Yeah.
be smothering. That would be my would be sort of I could say I'm justified because I'm
Right, you're a single dad and yeah.
I don't want to be that because
Right.
that doesn't, it might fulfill my role but it won't be good for her.
It's good
So,
for you.
Yeah, so what I want to do is make her give her the right tools,
Yeah.
but let her be independent. That's what I do right now. She's struggling with trying to put her socks on. I let her do it until she asks for help. I don't offer help, or I don't do stuff for her, things like that. Try and
That's
get
amazing.
her independent. Try and let her sort of think of if she's feeling sad, try not to say, oh no, you shouldn't be, or you should be happy. Those are emotions that she's going to feel. I can't change things like that. So
Yeah.
let her go through and fulfill
Yeah.
all these things
Her
that she
path.
needs to get her path, and then just try and lead by example. I'm big on working out, on being healthy, eating right, minimal screen times, things like that. So she's seeing that, and I think that will
rubs off
slowly
on her. Got it.
slowly mold her too.
Are you able to how do you feel like in terms of like being able to take care of your own well-being, your health, mental health?
Much more so.
Okay.
I like we were talking about movement.
Yeah.
I finally, once I moved to Northern California, I was like, it's time I joined a gym, because I was feeling, it's like I used to be very active and
I know.
and I wasn't anymore. I joined to feel physically, which I did feel physically better, but I realized mentally I was like, it was a game changer, and so now I'm like, that's one thing I will not miss, even here.
Which is your physical like workouts?
Like working out. Even here, where we're staying at the Airbnb, I checked out the gym. I already went
So
and worked out.
you're going to a gym?
Going to the gym there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because it's like I said,
it's
now
part of who you
it's become a thing that it's a can't miss.
Yeah.
Because it's been so beneficial.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I do. Therapy is another thing that I do for myself.
What if I may ask,
Mm-hmm.
and feel free to share as much as you're comfortable. What do your conversations look like now with your therapist?
Now the therapist is very initially it was very heavy of like feelings and things like that. Grief. Yeah. And now it's just talking about what's going on with Zaya, how I'm dealing with her and things like that. So it's become much more lighter, I guess.
Sure.
That's the thing.
And sort of building tools and
Yes, exactly. And it helps too, because it's not for Zaya, but he will tell me certain things. He himself is a granddad, so he knows
Sure.
a lot of things. So he'll point me in certain directions, and so definitely that helps.
that's amazing, because I think I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm struggling with is I did therapy when I was struggling, and like there comes, first of all, I was actually I denied, right? So I was sharing this with another dad. I'd go to like a therapy, and after two sessions, I'll be like, okay, it's not working out. I knew this. It's like, I told you so, right? I'll tell this to myself. And so I did that like 3 times, and I realized that I'm sabotaging myself,
yeah.
right? So once I had to tell myself that I'm not giving it enough time to even prove itself, whether it's worthwhile or not. So I had to allow myself to go through the process. And lo and behold, like after a few sessions, I really started to feel the impact of therapy, right? But so that after that hump, so that was first hump. After that, after I felt like I got past my struggles, and life was back to like kind of a steady state,
Yeah.
I've gone away. I realize, but parts of me are still asking me, right? Like, yeah, maybe this is not done yet.
Yeah.
This needs work, and I'm back to not doing it. So I'm so glad that you are continuing.
Even
with
though
it.
it's not like, like every 3 days or
Sure.
5 days or a week.
No, but at this
it's
you haven't stopped.
stopped. Yeah, exactly.
That's a great learning for me, actually.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's you set the time, and that 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
You get so much out
so
of
much
it.
out of it.
Yeah, that's a great message. I mean, that's one of the things, conversations I'm trying to have in my context, in my network, both in this podcast or at the workplace. There's a huge stigma about therapy. I mean, it's worldwide, but I feel like in India it's even a lot more, particularly for men.
True.
And I'm starting to like push that conversation with other dads, other fellow men. So I'm hoping that your example can inspire.
I mean, in my case, like I said, that's one of the cornerstones that helped me tremendously, in just emotionally. I think that it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll try to start to wind down now, Kaizad. And I really appreciate everything that you're sharing. If I could ask you, for a lot of dads, they're still sort of wondering what their role is, both single dads and not single dads, right? What would be your message to, let's start with single dads, like what your message to them in terms of?
I think, which I did a little bit too, would be don't focus on the negatives, or it's like pity or things like that. I did that for a little bit, self-pity.
Yeah.
Just focus on the fact that there's someone who's looking up to you. There's someone who's who you have a responsibility to, and just enjoy it. I think initially I did that a lot being a dad. It's like, is this right or is this right?
Big weight on your shoulders.
Yeah, is this right or should I do it this way? I'm like, just go with it, and you'll make some mistakes and then you course correct as you go along. I mean, there's no right way of doing it. There's no manual, there's not a science or anything. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
You go along and you make mistakes and you change.
And would you ask, like, what would Tanvi have done? Like, did you have that?
I do that a lot.
What would Tanvi have done?
Even now I do that, because it was great having those chats with her, even though it was never like, okay, sit down and let's talk about what you're going to do. We just,
sure.
But those have stayed with me. And so now I know that, okay, you know what? I think this is what she would have liked. And, well, if not, then it's too bad now. That's what.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's what that's what I think now. That I don't have her.
Yeah.
So, I think this would be right. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's what I do. And even for, like you said, it doesn't have to be just single dads.
Yeah.
Just even a couple or dads. A lot of time the dads get sidelined, and it's because they've been told that you have to be sidelined, and that I don't think that should be the case. Especially, I've noticed, and I'm sure it's everywhere, but
do you see that in your community in the US?
I was just going to say that I don't see it amongst the younger sort of generation.
Yeah,
I think it's just because there's been some change for sure. I've seen so many dads who come with their kids to the play area, to the mall. Very involved.
Not with their partners, like just the dads and the kids.
Like in our community 2 doors down, Zaya has a friend, and they sometimes mom and dad will be there together. Sometimes dad is with the daughter, sometimes mom, and it's it's actually great to see that, because then the onus is not on one or the other, and that's what parenting is, I guess.
I see that happening in India as well. I see a lot more dads being involved compared to what I had seen, like I was telling you, a decade back.
Correct.
So, because we are in this connected world, so much information and understanding about what's happening around the world. I'm pretty sure it's inspiring a whole new generation of dads in India as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like
more
you said,
involved.
there's more information out there,
Yeah.
and it's definitely
Yeah.
a change.
Do you think about Tanvi as a mom?
Yeah, I do think about her a lot, and I think she'd been a great mom because I've
Yeah.
seen her around like friends' kids,
Yes.
and she was always
Oh man, she was
always
so
great,
loving to even Nilla as
yeah,
well.
yeah, and it even though she initially said, yeah, I don't want to be a mom right now,
Right.
but just watching her with them,
Yeah.
I always thought that she would be awesome,
Yeah.
with a kid, and she just connected with them and I think
So
today
naturally.
on a basis that I could never, and I mean, it's I think of that, a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I think of her as well. And many ways she inspires me through her, just zest for life. If there's someone that I could think of who had the ultimate sort of, zest for life, I would put her definitely in the top two. She had so much life inside her. And she taught me a lot, meditation.
Yeah.
I remember she was talking about headspace, even back in the
Years
day.
ago, yeah.
And I meditate these days and I think about her. Yeah, she still inspires me, and I'm pretty sure she will inspire you and Zaya. And
Oh, definitely. And I think, just being with her when I was, emotionally, I was not not mature,
yeah,
but, she just rubbed off on me, and I'm glad because now then that's helping so much
Yeah.
with Zaya. No way am I, as good as her, but at least, I'm not,
I'm glad
I'm not at
you're
ground
having a fair
floor.
assessment of yourself.
Yeah, I'm not at ground floor, so I think that's I
That's
still
an
have a ways to
improvement.
go. I still have a ways to go, but yeah, no, definitely from what I was, thanks to her,
Yeah.
it's been great.
Well, we will continue to celebrate Tanvi, and I can't wait to see Zaya tomorrow.
For sure.
And thank you so much for doing this, Kaizad. It's been a really powerful conversation for me, and I really appreciate, and it's a privilege to have this conversation.
Thank you
with
so much. I'm glad I could share, and hopefully, helps someone.
I'm pretty sure it will, and that's the whole idea, Kaizad, that your story has so much power and so much this power of love and hope and resilience. I just hope that it rubs off on somebody, and they think of life and parenting in a little bit different way, in a more hopeful way than they did before.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Nice.